cargo that had to be moved between Salalah port and Tamrait. And this is a 2-3 year assignment. We had to deploy 40 trucks. We ensured that every driver on that truck was an Omani national. And the work entailed that they started duty at midnight and they finished duty at 6 o'clock in the morning. And all 40 of them stayed, not one attrition in 3 years. Every one of them performed. A large quantity of them were ex our MOD and ROP. 10 employees were differently abled, or should we say, extremely empowered in different ways, are part of the KR family. And we're very happy to say that some of them are Talib El-Balushi, who's been part of Oman's Paralympic team and has gained various medals at the Gulf and Asian Games stages. We also empower them, we teach them, we make sure that they're not just part of our system, but they are contributing effectively into our cause. We've also trained a lot of interns from professional colleges in the past 8 years. We weren't doing that earlier, but we've realized that taking in trainees in the summer is actually not just helping those interns, but it's actually helping us. Because these trainees nowadays are not as laid back as they used to be, let's say, 10 years ago. Nowadays, they are accountable not only what they do with us when they go back to college, but they're also accountable because we reward them with gifts and incentives for working and contributing in our organization. Under the Muscat Youth Summit, we train about 5 students every year under the Riyada scheme. We've also done a lot of trainees and interns from colleges in the past 8 years. And we're working with ITRA to explore opportunities for SMEs across Oman. In-country value. Most of you may have heard that Khimji Randas also has a small construction division. That construction division is not big by any standards. We do not turn over more than 5-6 million riyals a year. And considering that amount, we do not hire more than 300 to 400 people a year. But over the last decade, we've given out 10 million riyals worth of ICV jobs to in-country subcontractors and small contractors from within. Not just in the construction division, but also in our building services division, also in our air conditioning division. For every 10 ACs we sell, 6 ACs are installed by subcontractor AC firms. And 8 of the 10 ACs are also serviced by subcontracting, approved service contractors, who we train within our company and empower them to go and work and take on services overseas, across Oman. The legacy trade. This is very interesting. When the family brought in grain from India, the ships were not supposed to go back empty. The one thing we took back from Oman was dates. This date trade, as many of you would know, was a very proficient trade, a very prolific trade in terms of value to the Omani people. Brought back a lot of revenue for the farmers, to the people living in the hinterland. Unfortunately, about, say, 30 years ago, it started dwindling. And what was once upon a time 7,000 tons of dry dates, which was to be exported, the volume came down to nearly as low as 1,000, 1,200 tons. And the government was obliged to buy large amounts of these dry dates at a reasonable value from the farmers and then try and market them overseas. Well, my father started this when he came back and joined the business in 1957. He started this trade, and every summer he would be inducted into the date trade, and for the months in the harvest season he would spend about 3 to 4 months in the hinterland. Well, he's now 80 years young, but about 6-7 years ago he said he wants to go back into the date trade. He wants to meet back his farmers friends in the interior. So today he's restarted this trade about 6 years ago, purely as passion, purely as something that he wants to revive the old culture, the old trade links between India and Oman, in the most rudimentary fashion, and that is dry dates. We today he engages with 300 to 400 farmers every year, buying approximately 2,000 tons of date at the rate of 100 riyals each, which is 2 million riyals to the farmers. From a volume point of view of 2,000 tons is pittance. But he goes out there every week, every Friday, from 6 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock in the evening, meeting every farmer and encouraging them to regrow and restart the date process. Dry dates, as you know, is not something you pluck off a tree, put in a bag and sell. No, you have to go through a whole process of boiling, drying. It's very tedious, extremely time-consuming, and more importantly, in very extreme conditions of 45 to 50 degrees temperatures. So here we are, starting back and going back to our, as I saw, the tree of life, the date trade. So we've started this more as a CSR, more as a heritage trade, and today, the 49% of agriculture which is under date palm production, we feel that this is something that we need to really encourage. Now, most of this dates, the 250,000 tons that you see, is ripe dates, fresh dates that are consumed, but very few of them actually go into being dry dates, or basar. So this is something that we are going back to the farmers and working them, and we're just showing you some slides on the sorting part. How does the dry date thing, and then it's all about touching lives through dates. In the international market, we actually have gone and set up a marketing office in the souk, in the wholesale souk of Mumbai. Father goes and spends a week every few months to ensure that everything is going well. And from where else we buy the farmers, from Wasl, Pantrab, Gabi, Jalan, Rostak, Barka, Samail. I know from Bahala and the places around there as well, Musfat. We've exported about 15,000 tons in the last decade, and we hope that we will continue to do so purely as CSR, is not to profit. In fact, we may be losing a couple of 100,000 riyals every year in doing so. CSR. We call it silent CSR. We never talk about it, but I'm happy to share what we do. It's not about how much. It's what we think is relevant, what we think is important. We focus on 4 or 5 pillars: education, community support in kind, never in cash, health, SME facilitation wherever possible. I'm not sure that we're doing enough in that. And sports, because it's something that we are interested in as family, we are interested in, so we do that. Education, what have we done for education? We've just this year signed with Takatuf, where 17 young, bright students from across the country will be adopted by us, and their schooling in Oman in international schools will be taken up by us completely, including their upkeep, including their housing, etc., whilst they are in Muscat, whilst they are away from their families. After they've achieved their school certificate, whether it's A-levels or IB, they will then be sent to overseas to the best colleges in America and UK and possibly even Australia. Again, we will bear the full expenses of these students until graduation. So 17 every year from this year onwards. We've also signed a scholarship program with Howard for Omani students only. So we will take care of the fee of 1 or 2 Omani students on an annual basis, provided they get into Harvard. We don't ensure they're getting in there, but once they're there, we'll take care of their fees. So this is something that we said we must do it at the highest level. So this is a program that we signed a couple of months ago. We have contributed towards the Sinbad Children's Mobile Library. This is about to encourage, it's a mobile library that goes around from village to village, encouraging children to read books, not just play on on PlayStation, etc. We also work with the Environmental Society of Oman on student teams for international. We send them abroad for international exposure, and that is something that we want to do. Oman Chamber Higher Education Program, Al Najah Scholarship, where we adopt 2 students every year in colleges coming from the lower strata of families, and we send them to university in Oman. We take care of their fees. In the Muscat Youth Development Summit and the Riyadh Internship and Piped's Youth Development Drives, we are one of the main sponsors. We did go by the Muscat University thinking that this is one thing that the families of Muscat need to start. Dhofar went ahead before us and Nizwa went ahead before us, so the Muscat boys were well behind. So we said, come on Muscat, we need to be there. So I'm very happy to state that there are certain families over here who all contributed from Muscat to make this happen. That Muscat University is about to be formed. It will take in its first batch of students in September this year. Community. We believe that just handing out cash for building support systems in communities is not enough. We need to be focused not just in one area, in geographical area, but we also need to be focused in one area at a time, whether it's education or health, and focus on that, develop that, move on to the next either geographical area or the next system. So in the last 3 years, we focused on vilayats of Samail and Izki, and we focused on schools. And what we did over there was to keep on building shelters in playgrounds, in schools. So every school in Samail and Izki now has a shelter over the playground and over their play areas, indoor and outdoor, which are sheltered, and we made sure that all these schools were well sheltered. We also gave out IT lab equipment to these schools, and smart TVs, porta cabins, open air recreation rooms, and for students with disabilities as well. So we focused on these 2 areas, and we feel that we've become now part of their community as much as they are part of our community and our CSR network. So being focused, I think this is something that we believe that we've got a lot of encouragement. We encourage our employees to go and work in those areas on weekends and otherwise, and they take the initiative, not us. We've also helped in Izki in mass weddings, Izki festivals, football tournaments, helping out in the masjids and mosques, building majlises alongside the masjids because they're not big enough. We support the government schools with their infrastructure development wherever there's lack of funds, when they cannot wait for the 5-year plan to kick in. So we actually go and help them out. So this is what we've done, and it's given us a lot of satisfaction, given them a lot of satisfaction. We've built a lot of relationship between them. About 3 years ago, when Khalil was the chairman in the chamber, there was a program one Tuesday, and the Minister of Social Affairs came down to talk to us. We talked to us about how the Early Intervention Center is severely lacking funds to pay the teachers' salaries, and the contributions that they get from endowments and from various people donating money during the Ramadan and other periods is not even covering for 50% of their costs. At that time, we were very touched, and they said, if we don't get some sort of help in the next couple of months, we will have to cut down, or if not shut down, the unit. We decided as a family that this is something that we'd like to get into because it touches the lives of newborn babies until 3 years of age who are born with severe disability, mental and physical. So we took on the challenge, and we started paying every salary of every teacher that was employed in that institution at the rate of 10,000 riyals a month, every month for the next 3 years. It's very satisfying and gratifying that the Ministry of Social Affairs has now adopted that school and has taken on the teachers as their employees, and The institution is now standing on its own 2 feet, and we don't need to contribute anymore. But for 3 years, we were very happy to be part of their upkeep. Al Noor Association for Blind, there too we've helped in various ways. The Association of Disabled, we host charity events, auctions of our luxury brands like Cartier and Thing, where we actually give out these watches free. We host the dinner, and families, enabled families come in, contribute, donate, and the money goes 100% towards the Omani Association for Disabled Children. Dar al-Ata is one institution in Oman which we, the community, should be very proud of. We as a family and as a concern are equally proud of the fact that they've done such a fantastic job, a thankless job. So when they were working even during the post-aftermath of Gonu and Pet, we moved a lot of water, donated a lot of grain and activities around that time, and since then Dar al-Ata and us have been partners in various initiatives that they've taken. Road safety, seat belts, children driving on 4 wheels, on 2 wheels, is the greatest concern for any young parent, or any parent as a matter of fact, and this is something that we all share in our stresses. When the Royal Oman Police was redeveloping its Oman Automobile Club, where they have the go-kart track, and they were building the racetrack, the skid pans, and redeveloping the go-karts and etc. The one thing that was missing was the lights, so that children could come in the evenings and late evenings and weekends to even drive at night. We donated all the lights at the Oman Automobile Club, saying that that is safety for the children, for our youth, to attract them to stay away from the roads at night and be in a club-like atmosphere. And that has really gone a long way to make that Oman Automobile Club very successful today, even in these hot times, is because that's operational at night right until the wee hours in the morning. Health, yeah, what can I say? I mean, if I go back in time, when my grandfather retired in 1971, the first thing and the last thing he did before he retired was to donate a clinic in Ibra. If that was a CSR that started off our CSR bug in our system, so be it. So I'm happy to say that the first clinic and the first ambulance donated in 1971 by my grandfather in Ibra was the first real CSR by a corporate in the new renaissance of Oman. After that, in 95, when His Majesty completed his 25 years of reign and Oman was celebrating great achievements, it was always the case of what can we give His Majesty for his thing, and we said no. His Majesty gives, he doesn't take, and why don't we give on his behalf? And we donated the first renal dialysis center in the Sultan Qaboos Hospital, the Royal Hospital in Boshar. And that's gone a long way. It's been many years since, and we hope that we will take on other initiatives. So with Ministry of Health, we do a lot. Ministry of Health tells us, as Kimji Ramdas, you have a large chunk of people, and please save your blood for the Ramadan time, because that is a time when we have an acute shortage of blood in our blood banks, because people fast and they don't donate. So we make it a point that we do not donate 6 months prior to that, and in the month of Ramadan, close to 500 of our staff will go in and donate blood in 2 days. And if you want to see this, you must come and watch the donation camp that takes place in the Al Falaj Hotel in the Grand Hall, where you've got hundreds and hundreds of men and women lined up donating blood on beds, 10 beds, four deep, and it's a great achievement, and it's a great sight for sore eyes. We've done a lot of work with Oman Cancer, Oman Pediatric and Oncology Center. The aging and dementia thing is something we'd like to work with Oman, with the Sultan Qaboos University on in a lot of ways, and we believe that this is something that we need to do. Ishraka. When having done so much or so little over the last 10 years, it was important that we now have this whole envelope of silent CSR, as we call it, in a foundation, in an established manner. So we formed this new foundation called the Sharaka, which we hope to launch sometime this year, and do all these activities that I talked about under the Sharaka Foundation. Generating in-country value, it's something that we need to work on. I don't see that we're champions of this cause, but we've done it in our own way. I think there is a lot of initiative that needs to take place, especially if the country is going in the logistics and transport as our main hub of economic growth. And there are various areas that need to be focused on. We believe that this area of ICV can go a long way in generating self-entrepreneurs and working various things. We've also were the founder members of Sharaka, the fund for startups, at least 15, 20 years ago as well. ITRA, we work with them, mentoring, inspiring success and mentorship programs. Sports, the two Omani go-kart champions, which are on right now on European stage and probably on its own world stage, have been mentored and sponsored by us since they were young boys of 6 and 7. And we're happy to say that they've gone really a long way in doing what they've done, and they've become role models to youngsters and teenagers. The Oman cricket team is a success story that I keep on pom-pomming about.